Hello, this video will show faculty how to use Harmonize, particularly for discussions within Brightspace by D2L. Harmonize is a program that is integrated into Brightspace by D2L. It has multiple features, but some of the main ones you might be interested in is a true polling situation to where students can poll in and you can allow them to see the responses of others or to see just the general overview of how people have responded to the poll. The discussions that run through Turnitin, as well as multiple due dates on discussions. These are known as milestones in Harmonize, and basically you can have one milestone or deadline for the original post and one for the replies. Harmonize will auto-assign those points if the quota is met for the original post and the replies, and the faculty member can override those points as necessary. But it will keep track as to whether the student met both deadlines and both posts within those deadlines. It is important to know that Harmonize will run through the content area of D2L rather than the discussions. So native discussions to D2L will still run through the discussion area, but since this is an integration, everything's going to run through the content area. So first you want to go to the content module. You want to find the module or create a module as to where your discussion will live. And then you will need to pull in Harmonize using existing activities. So from there you'll choose Harmonize. And then you'll see the options of the different tools that you can use in Harmonize. So the discussion is probably the most common tool that you'll use. It's very similar to the discussions that you use in D2L. But remember, you can have the multiple due dates and they can run through Turnitin. Then you have polling. Then you have the course Q&A, which is basically like a discussion board that is not graded, to where you can kind of have an open FAQ area or an open ask the teacher area, that type of thing that you can pull in. You can then also have a topic Q&A, which is very similar to the course one. Again, both of these are basic discussion boards, but the topic allows you to ask for specific things about a particular topic, but it isn't graded in that case. And then you have the chat area, which allows you to private message students or to make group conversations to where they can private message each other. And then the communication center is where you can access your Harmonize settings. It's kind of the help area. The main two areas that you'll probably use the most, however, are going to be your discussions and your polls. So let's get started by doing a poll. So we'll create a new one. If I have created other ones in this course, I could just select the one that I've already created, but in this case I don't have one, so we're going to create a new one. Then you would give the title of your poll. You can choose if it's graded or not graded. If you choose graded, Harmonize will automatically make a D2L gradebook item for this, and as soon as the student responds, regardless of how they respond, their answer, they will get the full points for it. In most cases, I would imagine you wouldn't want to grade a poll, and so in that case, you could choose not graded. If you do choose graded, you can choose how many points it is worth. And again, this is kind of an all or nothing type thing to where they get the points if they post, and then they don't get the points if they don't. Then we'll create that poll. So notice now in the content area we see the poll, which is named whatever we named it. Notice that everything dealing with Harmonize is going to be an external learning tool, and that's because it is part of the integration. So if we click on that, we're able to further give more information about how we want our poll to look and function. So notice that you can add in a poll prompt, which can be separate than the poll title or the same, depending on how much you want to flesh out and give information about your poll. Then you would need to put in all of your polling options of the choices that they can select. Then you would choose to add more options if need be. Then over here on the side, you want to choose how the results are going to be shown to the others. So you can choose that show results to others always, show after the participant votes or the poll is closed, after the poll is closed, or never. So by default, it's going to be on this one that the person has to actually vote in the poll and then it will show the results, or after the poll is closed, it will show the results. If you have it on always, they're actually able to see the results of the poll before they submit themselves. After the poll is closed, they can't see it after they vote until the poll is actually closed. And then never, you as the teacher are able to see the results, but the students are not. Notice before we move on that the rules of the poll are here, that each participant can only select one answer, and that once they submit it, it cannot be changed. Also down below, we have some other features that we can use. We can add in additional text if we want more information to explain this poll. The most common things you'll probably use are adding in media like images to your poll, adding in links to your poll, so if there are websites or videos that they need to view to answer the poll, as well as creating an audio or video recording yourself to be put into the poll. So in this case, we'll choose to add some media, so I'll select that, and then I can drag and drop my files here. So I've added in my image. I can choose how large I would like for it to be, and then I can add in that alt text just describing what it actually is for those who are not able to see the image because of technology or disability. Scrolling on down, I can add in other pieces here, or I can go ahead and save and close. Alright, so this is what the poll will look like. You'll see it'll just have the question here, it'll have the answer choices, and then any additional resources down at the bottom, like the image, the web link, the video, anything like that there. Also, as the teacher, if you want to close the poll, you can come and choose Close Poll, which will close it for everyone else. Now, if you don't want to come here and manually close the poll, another way around that to get it to where it doesn't actually automatically close the poll, but it'll make it to where your students can't access the poll anymore, which will make it to where they can't vote anymore, is to come to this area, edit the properties in place, and then put a date or restriction. And so if I want the students not to be able to poll after tomorrow, say, I can put that restriction on there, and so this link will basically go dead to where they can't click on it on this time. So you're not closing the poll that way, but you're making it to where they can't get to it, which will give you time to go in there and actually close up the poll. So now let's go and see how the poll will work as a student. Okay, so we're in as a student. We're going to click on this poll. Okay, so as a student, we've clicked on the link. We're able to see this. We're able to click on our response, and then it will be submitted. Of course, only one person has responded at this point, so we could check back later and see the results of the poll, because I have it set to where once you submit, you're able to see the results of others. Before we move on, I wanted to show you the toolbar up here for each individual student and the settings that they can have there. So here is the chat area. So if you are using the chat area in your course, and students are having maybe a group message, or you're using it with private messaging between you and the student, that's where they'll see those messages. These are any tips that the student might be able to reference later on to learn how to use Harmonize, just some specific things that they can use, as well as any notifications that they have. The student's able to come here and set up their notification settings to help them with this information. So they're able to see when they'll get a notification. They're able to turn it on as to when they want that. So by default, it's pretty much on when anything immediately happens. They'll be able to get that notification in their Harmonize area, so that is suggested that you leave it on. But these involve if somebody else is if the teacher makes a new Harmonize discussion post, if they edit the instructions on it, if someone posts to any of your discussion posts that you've created, if you've been tagged in a post, as well as if you are meeting a milestone or need a milestone is coming up to be due in the next couple of days. So those are some notifications that you can edit. And again, those will appear up here in this top bell for your notifications whenever you're in Harmonize. So here you see the response of a second student. I have it set to where they can't see the responses till they submit. But as soon as they select, they're able to see generally what other students are saying here. So back in as the teacher, I can come back into our Harmonize poll. I can see the responses, so I can just choose skip voting and get a results if I don't want to vote myself, and I'm able to see what the current results are. If I want to close the poll, I can choose close, or I can download the poll results, and this will take it to where I can get a summary or just those who have participated. So the summary file looks like this. It gives you the response choices, the number of people who selected that, as well as the overall percentage. And the list of poll participants will give you an Excel list of the names of the students who completed the poll. Okay, so now let's go into making a discussion. So we're going to go to existing activities. We're going to choose Harmonize. And in this time, we're just going to create a regular discussion. So we're going to create a new one. So we'll give it a title. I want this one to be auto-graded, and I want it to be out of 10 points. So remember, if you choose graded, it's automatically going to make the grade in the grade book. That's how you want to associate it to a grade item with a harmonized discussion. So we'll create the discussion, and then we'll be able to go in and edit all of the pieces for it. So now we see our discussion. It is an external learning tool. I'll be able to click on this to continue editing and getting it ready to be posted. So notice here across the top you have 4 tabs. You have your instructions of what to post. You'll have your post settings as to when students can post. Then you'll have your or settings as to how they can post. And you have your milestone due dates and auto grading, which is setting up those due dates. And then you have student facilitators, which you can use if you want a student to be able to lead the discussion in cases to where you're having them take turns being the leader of a discussion. You can add those in there. So to begin, we're just going to paste in our instructions. It might be that you have these in another D2L discussion and you're just converting these native D2L discussions over into Harmonize. So in that case, you could copy and paste it, or you could type it out here. All right, so I've pasted in my instructions. I can scroll down below, and remember that you can add in all these extra features. So you can add in an additional text box. You can upload an image if you like we did before. I can put in web links. So I'll go ahead and add in one of those so you can kind of see what it looks like. I just basically paste in the URL and press enter, and you'll be able to see that it pulls in the website there. You can add in multiple links if you want to. And then you can add in an audio video recording. Let me just show you how that works really quick. So you'll select this, and you can choose just to use your audio, or you can choose to use your video, and this is where you're creating an actual video here. So it'll pull my webcam, and now you can see that it has a video where I can make my video here. So I'll start this recording. Notice that it can only be 5 minutes. Hey everyone, so to start this semester off, I want to think about what teachers have been influential to us. So I want you to think about the teacher that, some of the teachers that have been influential to you in your life in terms of K-12 as well as in higher ed, and think about the characteristics that they have, that they had to make you want to be a teacher. So in that case, I will submit that recording. Now you may use this in addition to your text up here at the top, or you may use it in replace of. It is up to you there. And then down below, you actually have the ability to schedule a meeting to where if you wanted to have a meeting to where you're going to be meeting live with your students, you can have that set up, or you can add in polling if you want to add in another polling right there with the actual discussion. You can do that. But for right now, we'll leave those instructions as is. Then we're going to go over to our post settings. A common setting that a lot of people like to turn on is to hide all posts and comments from students who have not posted yet, meaning that the student would have to post their original discussion first before they're able to see others. So that is a common tool that we use natively in D2L, so a lot of people will turn that on. Then you have students allow them to add annotations as well as to upload media, and so if you want them to upload a video, that type of thing, you can choose that. In order to send the post through Turnitin, you would want to make sure to check that. Again, that's not turned on by default, but you can check it to where this post will automatically get sent through our Turnitin account. You can choose them, allow them to have reactions like smiley faced, things like that. And then you have your anonymous post settings to where by default it's going to be that it's going to show the user's identity. You can choose it to where it is an anonymous post. You can also turn this in to where it is a visible discussion so that everyone's able to see it, or you can set it up to where it's private between a student and instructors. So we'll leave this one open to everyone for right now. Then you can choose how they see it, either in a list or a grid format. And then we'll want to move on to the milestone due date. dates. So we're going to add in our milestones here. So here you have your options of either doing due dates or available until. In most cases where you want a hard deadline, you're going to want available until a certain date. If you want to have a due date there, remember that due dates are not preventing them from posting further on. It's just letting them know that there is a deadline there. So we'll do available until. And then auto grading is just going to give the students the points for each milestone automatically, and then you can go back and edit those. But it is a great way to be able to see who has posted by those milestones. So let's say that this is worth 10 points. My original post is worth 5. My replies are worth 5. So in this case, we'll work on milestone number 1, which is the original post. So it's going to be worth 5 points. So here, for the first milestone, I want them to have at least one original post. So the post here is that original thread. A comment is a reply to someone else's thread. A reaction is just like a like or a smiley face or something like that. So most of the time, if you're looking at your traditional discussions, you're dealing with posts and comments. Reactions might be something you add in additionally, but most of the time posts are going to be that original thread, and then comments are going to be your replies. So by a certain due date, I want them to have one post. So let's go in and do that. So in this case, it's going to be due on that available until date. So say that I'm going to have it due on next Tuesday. So say that by next Monday, I want them to have their original post posted, and then by next Tuesday is when it will be their replies. So in this case, my drop dead due date is going to be on Tuesday. So really, I'm going to want this due one day before, which would be on Monday, and this will make sense in a minute when I put in my actual due date. So we'll have that here, and then I'll add in another milestone, and this is going to be the other 5 points. And this is going to be my 2 replies. Let's just say in that case, comments are replies. And that's going to be due on the actual date of Tuesday. So we've got a total of 10 points here available. Now you can further detail out these comments if you expand this here. You can choose whether or not you want those to be comments to other people's threads or replies to other people's comments. So do you want it to be a comment to a new thread or a reply to a reply, if you will, or do you care? If you don't care in that case, then you can just do 2 replies and it'll be to any reply. If it matters to you that they're replying to a specific thread, you can choose that there. So here we can see our summary that we have 1 post required and then 2 comments. And we're going to go and set that due date in a minute, so this will make sense. But then we're just going to move over to student facilitators really quick so you can see it. Basically, if you want to turn this on, it will let you assign a student facilitator, and it's basically just going to include this at the top of their instructions, letting them know that they are kind of the group facilitator. They don't get any special privileges other than to guide the discussion. They're not able to grade, they're not able to see the grades or anything like that. So in reality, you may not use this tool as much, or this piece of the piece of Harmonize as much, unless you're wanting somebody to be kind of the leader or overseer of the discussion. So let's save and close. And so right now we have 1 post, which is going to be 5 points, 2 comments, which is going to be 5 points. We also see our instructions here. We see our web link here, and then we see our recorded video here that students can see. And then this is where their actual individual post will come through. So now let's finish setting up that one piece regarding the due date. And so what you'll do here is when you go to your discussion area, this is where you're actually going to put that due date. So you're able to edit it here and do edit properties in place. And I said that I wanted it to be due on the 2nd, or due on the next Tuesday here. So I'll update that. And now when I go into my discussion, you'll see that it takes that date and makes these comments in place and puts these due dates. So remember I said that first post was going to be due a day before the deadline. Since the deadline's on Tuesday, it's going to make it due on that Monday. And then after that, I have my comments that are due on the actual deadline, which will be on that Tuesday. If I need to edit anything about my discussion, I'm able to come right in here and edit, and it'll take me back to this main area to make those changes. But keep in mind that that's where these milestones came from, that I set my end date in my content area to be on Tuesday, and so it backed it up to one day before. It made it due on Monday, and then it made it due on the actual day of, so it put in those dates, and you can edit those there if you want to. Alright, so now I'm in as a student and we'll go ahead and do our post. Notice they're able to see the due dates here. They're also able to see over here how many posts and comments they've made, as well as how many responses that they've received. So I'm able to see all this information, watch the video, look at the links, read the content, and then I'm able to come right down here and go ahead and create my post. Okay, so I give a title. I can actually tag someone if I want to. So if I'm talking about this and I really want somebody else to read it in my class, I can actually pick from my class list somebody I want to tag in it. Like I really want Autumn to read my message because I'm talking about maybe a teacher that we shared in common or whatever, something about this post I'm wanting a particular student to see. Now that is not required. The student does not need to tag the teacher in it to be able to see it. So this is mainly for if they want to tag a student because they're talking about a similar topic or something like that. They post their content itself, and then they can come in and just like before, they can add in images, web links, or even make an audio recording or a video recording. So it might be that you have a discussion that isn't text-based at all, and that students are only going back and forth with the video recordings. So then we'll publish this. Notice that it is going to get sent through Turnitin because we have that feature turned on. So we'll publish this. And then now we see that post here. So we see at the top, we have our discussion requirement information. And then scrolling down below, we see our first post, which is kind of like in a grid here. And then you're able to click on that to be able to see that student's particular response. And then to respond to him, you would go to that at the bottom. Also notice for this student, it shows them immediately that they have their first milestone checked off because they have made their original post by that Monday, December 13th due date. So they're able to move on to do their second piece, but it lets them know that they have made their first milestone. Notice when I log in as the student who is tagged in that post, I see this notification up at the top, and I'm able to see that Robert Hamby has tagged me in a particular discussion, and I'm able to click on that and go directly to it. So that's where that tag notification will come into play. But I'll scroll down. I will post my new post. And notice if this is going to have a question in it that I want my teacher to respond to, I want them to actually see this, I can turn this on to where the teacher will get a notification knowing to go and look at that one early, because that's basically saying, hey, within my discussion post I had a question for you, would you mind replying to it? And that just gives them that notification. So I'll publish this. Immediately upon publishing, I'm able to see the other members in my class, their posts. So here I'm able to click on that, and I'm able to see his post. So at the bottom, I'm able to see his post. I'm able to see that I was tagged in it. And then I'm able to come in and do my comment. Notice from here, even in your reply post, you can add in images, videos, all of those extra features just within your reply message. But I can publish that, and that is my reply to his comment. Also notice here at the top, this is where that reaction comes into place. So I can choose a smiley face, which means this is helpful, a arrow, which means good point, or a plus sign, which means I agree. So I'll choose that this is helpful for him. And again, that's not required to do a reply post. Those are what those reactions or extra features are. Then if I wanted to move on to the next post, I would just choose this one and I could move on to see the next person's post, which was my own. Or I can go back to the main area to be able to see just everyone's post in those different cards. So here they are in the individual cards, and you're able to see the initial person's post, how many comments there are, and if there is a reaction. Once the student has created all of their posts and met the quota, they'll see that they have check marks here, and that's letting them know that they've met both of the benchmarks. They can also scroll down and find their information here, but an easy way for them to check to see what they've completed, here it'll show them that they've made 3 posts and comments. They've received 2 responses on their own post. But then an easy way is to choose check your activity, and it will let the student see here is my original post. And then I can choose to click here to see the comment of the person that commented on my original post. And then scrolling on down, I can see the comments that I've made on people's posts. So I responded to both of these people, and I'm able to click on that and able to go directly to where he posted and see my response there. So just in case the student wanted to follow up on what they did. And again, over here they can see they've met both milestones. They can see that they've had a total of 1 initial original post, 2 comments or replies. They've reacted to 1, and then on their own post, they've received 2 responses. They've had 1 reply or comment and 1 reaction to their post. So this is what they've done. This is what they've received. Also notice the Turnitin has come back. And so here you have your Turnitin feedback here. So we're at a 38%. I'm able to click on that as the student. And it's going to open up in very similar the feedback studio that you're used to seeing. And so here we're able to see all of the information, and we're able to see what it is aligning to. So since the student has met their quota for both of those, even though the due date has not passed yet, you're able to go to the gradebook, and the student's able to see that they have received full points for their discussion. Now, of course, the teacher can edit that in just a second when we go in to grade it, but this was based upon their initial meeting of their milestones. So that was the auto grading that was already in place because I selected for it to be on. If you select it not to be on, it'll still tell you when the milestones are met. It just won't do the auto grading for you. This will happen based upon when they submit and meet all the milestones or after the due date. So if I hadn't met all the milestones but the due date passed, it would automatically give me the automatic grading for whatever I had done up till that point, which would be less than 100%. But since it's not past the due date or the milestone, or it's not past the due date, but I have met all the milestones, it went ahead and graded that for me. So now we're logged in as a student. We're able to see the overall activity. We're able to scroll down and see the cards and how many commented and that type thing. But then to do your actual grading, you would want to come here to grades and activity. Alright, so in the grades and activity area, first you want to choose the student that you would like to grade. The apple icon lets you know that that person is an instructor in the course, so may or may not be posting. If the student has already met the benchmark or the milestones, it will show that they have that here. Since this is not past the milestone due date, it doesn't show any of the others, but if this were after the milestone due date, it would already show you that auto grading in place. So that's an example of what the auto grading looked like. Keep in mind that we can always override it. So we'll start with this student. So I can click here. I'm able to see a lot of what the student saw here. So I'm able to see their initial post, which is their original post. I'm able to see their Turnitin percentage. I'm able to open that there if I want to. I'm able to see the person and what was commented to them. And then I'm able to scroll down and I'm able to see the particular post that they made. So I'm able to click on the initial post to see what Robert posted, and then I'm able to see how Autumn responded to it. So I'm able to see her initial post as well as who responded to her and how, as well as the people she responded to and how she responded to each of those. And then again, over here on the side, I'm able to see that she did meet those due dates, those benchmark dates, and that's why it gave her 100% for the auto grading. And then I'm able to see here that for her, she posted on 3 different things: 1 initial post, 2 comments, 1 reaction, and then she received 1 comment and 1 reaction on her own posts. So I can leave that score or I can override it if I want to. Again, this is the auto grading score. I can leave that or override it. Then I would submit and next, and then I can just go to the next person. Here I'm able to see that he did his original post. I'm able to see that. I'm able to see that one person commented to him from there. I'm able to see his turn it in percentage. But then again, over here on the side, I'm able to see that he met that first milestone, but he didn't meet that second milestone. Now, if the grade was, if the due date had already passed, which it hasn't at this point, but if it had already passed, this grade would automatically populate up here. Since technically he still has time because the date has not passed, then it may continue. If he doesn't, then this auto grade would post here, and I could of course override it. But in this case, we'll just go ahead and put in the grade here, and then we'll submit next and move forward with our grading process. So that is how you do your grading here. And again, you're able to see a pretty robust area here of seeing who responded, how much they responded, who they responded to, and what those original posts were. As that student, since I put in their, I manually put in their grade, we can see that in the grade book it automatically put that in for me. Again, the grading system works as if once the deadline, the last milestone is passed, if you have auto grading turned on, it's going to automatically put whatever grade that they've earned based upon those milestones. If they meet all the milestones before the deadline and you have the auto grading turned on, then it will automatically populate that in. But keep in mind, regardless, when you do your manual grading, you can override that information. And again, you don't have to turn on these points if you don't want it to do the auto grading. It'll still show you if they met the milestone, just you would still have to put in the manual grades. So the last thing is, notice on these cards below, they're showing no photo here. And what would happen is if a student wants to upload their photo, they would just come to the top and they would choose in their Harmonize area to upload a photo. And then that would have that card when they post to be located here. And so in that case, the card would look something like this. And those are the basics of creating a poll within Brightspace, or within Harmonize within Brightspace by D2L, as well as creating a regular discussion, posting to it as a student, as well as grading it.